There's a gentleman right to your right.
Yes, I'd like to know when the government of this country and this state is going to get serious about prosecuting people who should own guns, the criminals and the people who provide them with the guns. I think you've got numerous cases in the news lately. The girl in Chicago, the fellow that shot her had been convicted of illegal gun possession, yet he's walking around on the street with guns.
You're absolutely right.
Convicted murderer in Milwaukee had a house full of guns. They're not enforcing the laws, and there ought to be an automatic penalty. You commit a crime with a gun, 10 years in jail. No parole, no plea bargain. Automatic.
I agree, it is a huge problem in our system. And let me give you an example. California is really cracking down on this. And it works. I mean, in California, every night, they take the national system, and they cross-check it against all of their local records. And they have local law enforcement. And if you've now become convicted of a felony or domestic violence, they come to your house and they pick up your weapons because that is the law. And it helps reduce violence. And so that's for people who already legally have guns. And the issue you're raising, which is the much more common one, is people who are getting access to weapons once being felons. We need much tougher laws. And I suspect that the girlfriends and the brothers and the dads who were buying the weapons, if they knew they were going to go to jail for 10 years, would not be so easily convinced to go buy them. So that's part of the legislation we're looking at, is much tougher straw purchasing punishments, much tougher gun trafficking federal ones, so you might have been federal prison, not in the local county jail, but you go to the federal pen for gun trafficking, just as you do for drug trafficking. And you're absolutely right. This is something we found there are really big holes in the system right now. Need to be improved.
Okay, let's go with this guy in the blue sweatshirt right here.
I had a different question to ask you, but since we have a topic about trafficking, let's talk about Fast and Furious, man. Talk about that. Talk about the U.S. government selling guns to the Mexicans to create a problem. Let's comment.
I got elected in November.
Yeah, I know.
Let's
talk about Fast and Furious. You're wasting my time tonight. It says go right to the fridge, man. Go home.
Yeah, I'm sorry. If you think this is a waste of time,
and go right to the fridge.
A lot of folks are finding this, and I'm finding it to be helpful.
Okay, let's go on to
Seems like there are two sides to this question. One is the person who is buying a gun needs to be law-abiding. But we don't see, guns are now not even a commodity. They're kind of like grains of sand, it seems to me. I don't know how they're tracked either. It seems that you need to be able to control kind of like a chain of evidence. When a gun is manufactured, where it goes, who gets it, who he sells it to, who buys it, and then where it gets transferred to. If you don't know where the guns are, if you don't know the provenance of a gun, then how are you going to know where they're going and how they're, as he said about Fast and Furious, which just is an example of how illegal guns get moved from one place to another without anybody's knowledge. How do we know how we're controlling the access of these weapons?
Well, on resale, and actually we can probably